So the question today, what are the qualities and or requirements of a leader, and are you a leader? I think this is an important question. I like to ask myself this question often, and also during a time when we're navigating so many competing priorities and challenges, and also in thinking through our character work and what we've learned. What does it mean to be an actual leader and translate our learnings to our followers? The way that a lot of this character work shows up in my like formal line of work is, to me, like rethinking how we define leaders in this city, because I think we become what we celebrate. And so if we continue to celebrate people without acknowledging the type of character they have or the type of people they are, then we're going to get more of that. And so I just think that it's such an important question to reflect on. So very interested in y'all's thoughts on it. So far, we only have one leader, one self-proclaimed leader here in the chat. Morgan.
I see Lisa too from Alverno.
Oh, and Lisa, okay.
And Lori. Oh no, she didn't self-identify.
Is this an identity? An identity that you carry? Good morning, everyone. We're just chilling, getting situated, answering questions, looking at Ariane's guest colleagues today. And reflecting on leadership, what it looks like. I appreciate that, Sheila. Dedicated to moving important priorities forward and not distracted from those priorities. I love that. And the aspiration here, like trying to be a leader. So like naming it as an identity you can work towards. Mobilizing people towards a common goal. I love that. Colleen said a leader models what is hoped for in an organization or group. I love that a lot. There's like a big stake in around initiative. I see a lot of listening. What do we have? Some of our earlier responses. Influencer, communication, positive, go-getter. So a lot of things, again, a lot of things rooted in kind of that initiative. Marisa, holding the space is one quality of a leader. I see some character traits here in Patty's response: integrity, courage, conviction, humility, focus on helping others to be the best they can be. Kind of a distinction between leader and facilitator here in that response. That's interesting. Cool. Mobilize. I love that, Mimi. Challenging systems. Understanding the needs of the community. I think those are all super important parts. Mm-hmm. Cool, cool. Do we want to advance the slides so that folks can get their naming,
Sure.
or sorry, get their like numbers with their names?
Yes.
Awesome, thank you. Good morning. Looks like we have a good chunk of people. I don't know how many we're expecting. Cool. If you can go ahead and adjust your names. Awesome. Thank you all for responding in the chat. And if anybody wants to come off mute or say a few words, something that they heard that they liked or that they appreciate, feel free to do so. And then we'll get the ball rolling as soon as I get a thumbs up from our leaders. Do you all feel, yeah, if everyone can kind of check in and see if their group is here or if we're missing anyone?
I love LACCS, and I am feeling a simultaneous fatigue as the semester winds down, and renewed energy as spring springs upon us. So kind of a mixed bag, but LACCS is okay.
Laces.
Oh, yes. Thank you. It's always the surgery in my view.
I like the parallel to clear vision and LACCS. That's
I totally do. I'm
trying to do.
Thank you, Lauren.
We're moving from the glasses to like the actual surgery here, getting a clearer vision. Cool. Yeah, Colin, you're on it. Awesome. Should we get the ball rolling here?
Let's go.
All right. We have the agenda on the screen. So here's the day for those that want to kind of prepare. Lunch is at 11, I believe. Let me just double check that. Yes, lunch is at 11 for those that are kind of planning out their breaks. And you can see kind of we're packing a lot in this morning session. So a lot of information, but please just engage with the chat. Feel free to ask questions, engage with each other. And then our speaker will be joining us after lunch. So let's flow through the agenda and kick it off with Circle and Dorian. And Antonio.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I'm pretty sure most of you have seen our faces, but if you haven't, I'm Antonio Butler. That's Dorian Swish, my partner. We both work as full-time restorative practice practitioners, working from the Center for Self-Sufficiency. It's a pleasure to be here this morning and get to see all of your faces and just be a part of setting the tone for today. So the first thing that I want to kind of go through is a guided meditation. So if you could just take a moment to, sit with a very tall spine and put your feet on the ground, plant your feet on the ground and just sit up straight. And then roll your shoulders if you have to. Just find a relaxed position with a tall spine and your feet planted on the ground. All right. Now, either, with your gaze lowered or with your eyes closed, just take 3 deep breaths with me, in through the nose and out through the mouth. In. And out. Breathe in. And breathe out. All right. And so in our guided meditation, I just want to, as I said before, set the tone. So with your gaze lowered or your eyes closed, I want you to imagine a ball of light just floating above your head and is getting ready to, flow throughout your body and just get rid of all of the negativity of yesterday and help you to focus on growth for today. And so that ball enters the top of your head, and it's just going down from your head to your neck, down to your shoulders and your arms, into your elbows and your forearms, your wrist, your palms, and now your fingertips. And then it continues from the shoulders to your chest and your back, making its way down to your stomach and your lower back. Just breaking up any negativity or any ill will that may be sitting on you or sitting inside of you. From your stomach, it goes down to your hips and your seat, to your thighs, into your knees and your calf muscles, down to your shins and your ankles, all the way down to the bottom of your feet. And as you imagine all of the negative things that are holding you back or that are kind of hindering you, as you imagine those things kind of falling off of you, I want you to invite into your space something that you are grateful for, something that you appreciate greatly, whether that be a person or an experience or anything, whatever that is. I want you to invite that into your space and to focus your heart on that. And as we continue throughout our day, I want you to go back to that place of appreciation and gratefulness, because we know that when we find ourselves being grateful, it lifts our spirits and it raises the vibrations of our existence. It allows us to look at things in a different perspective. And now, as a group, we just take one more deep breath in through the nose and out through your mouth. And now if you can just, come back to this space by opening your eyes or lifting your gaze. Excuse me. I just thank you for listening to my, being a part of my guided meditation. And now I'm going to pass it over to Dorian to get our check-in going.
Good morning, everyone. For our check-in question, I'm going to invite you to take a few moments to think about something that you're grateful for, and something that motivates your growth. So I'll give you guys a couple seconds to think about that. I'll have Antonio drop that into the chat. And then just give me a bit of some eye contact when we have that in our minds. So on the count of 3, I'm going to have everyone drop their answers in the chat. So 1, 2, 3.
I'm just looking throughout your answers, and I'm really, I'm loving what I'm seeing. I see a lot of family and kids. That's like, um, that's like one of my like aspirations, is to have like a small me running around, or at least that's how I envision it. Who knows? They might be, different from me. Doesn't matter. Marissa says she's very grateful for her school community and where she works. You feel as though you're right where you need to be. Grateful for all the work that we need to do. Awesome. Marquise says the youth and the community that he came from, and where he feels he's most needed, leaving behind a legacy others can learn from to build their own. That's awesome. And I appreciate all of you dropping your answers into the chat, just being a part of our check-in. This next portion is not necessarily an active thing that we do right now, but it's just something that will bring like a sense of reflection throughout the day as you kind of hear from Chiraki and some of the things that he has in store for you today. So if you can grab a pen and paper, or open up a doc, whatever you're using to take notes today. I really, as I was putting together my agenda for this morning, I just was thinking like, how can my, I guess like, how can what I do this morning affect you in more than just like setting the tone for the day? How can I like invoke or kind of try to promote reflection throughout the day, as you learn and as you grow as leaders? And so the two questions that I have for you, I'm just going to wait a few more seconds for everyone to, bust out their note-taking devices. Excuse me. Oh yeah, I can drop them in the chat too. So, forgot about that. Okay. So the two questions that I have for you, the first question being, how will these teachings today create leadership growth within you? So that is our first kind of reflective question for the day. And I'll also put them in the chat so that way you'll have them. Again, how will these teachings today create leadership growth within you? So as you kind of hear from Shiraki and as you like carry throughout your day, I just want you to think about that question. And then another question that I want you to think about is, how will your takeaways help you serve the youth, or help you serve the young people that you teach and benefit the people that you work with? And that is also going in the chat. So just one more time, how will your takeaways help you serve the young people that you teach and benefit the people that you work with? And I know it's only two questions, it's not a lot, but I'm I'm really hoping that those two questions really help you throughout the day. Just find more meaning, and not necessarily find more meaning, but try to help you to reflect on the teachings that you learned today. And find, yes, purpose. Thank you. To find purpose in these teachings, and so you can, use these notes and bust them out whenever you're in school or whenever you're in class, and just think about how you can use what you learn here today to further growth and serve, your young people. And with that, I am going to toss it over to Mark. Thank you guys for letting me be a part of your morning.
Thanks, Antonio. And Dorian, both of you, really appreciate you kicking it off. Love the meditation. I feel much better. So appreciate that. Can we have somebody pull up the next slide? And there's a link in the slide for a KWL activity we're going to do here in a minute. So hopefully Julie can do that, or maybe Marisa. So later this afternoon, we have Dr. Hawley presenting to us around the topic of culture responsive teaching. And before we jump into that, we wanted to maybe activate some background knowledge. We want to find out where you are at in your journey around culture responsive teaching. So I'm going to try to connect a couple of dots this morning. First of all, I love the question that we started off the day of the qualities that leaders have, and then are you a leader? One of the ones that I didn't put in the chat, but one is vulnerability. If you're looking for a good leadership book to read, there's a book called Ascent of a Leader, and it's the rungs of a ladder, and the first rung climbing the ladder is vulnerability. And the second one, which I think ties to the question for the day from Antonio, is, how do we serve people? I think leaders are servants, and so I really like that question of how we can take away today's information to help serve others. So I again, trying to connect some of these dots here. In terms of vulnerability, I was hesitant. I'm going to be sharing some information in the work that we're doing here at Meyer Middle School. And so I'm going to be a little bit vulnerable by saying, I shared this with Julie, I shared this with Ronette, and I think Colin was at the last meeting, is I don't know if I necessarily feel totally comfortable talking about culture responsive teaching. I mentioned that I'm just a white dude leading a school and trying to do what's best for kids, and I'm just starting this process. And so after we do this KWL activity, I just want to share some of the work that we're doing. We're about 9 months into it, talking about culture responsive teaching at our school. And so I just want to share the process we've gone through. And it's just one way to go about it. And again, I'm not super confident talking about this for complete transparency and being vulnerable, but I'm just going to share a little bit of the work that we've started out doing here at our school. So with that, I think we're gonna go into random breakouts, which I really like doing because it's fun learning from other people. And so on here, hopefully this link works. So what we're going to do here in a minute, we're going to get in groups. If you can click on the link, it's a Google Doc that all of us will be writing on. So hopefully we won't be fighting over the bullets that are on there. So the KWL, for those of you that aren't familiar with KWL, is we want to know what you currently know about culture responsive teaching practices. We would like to know what you would like to learn more about. And we hopefully will share this then with Dr. Hawley before he presents. So he kind of has an idea, maybe he can customize a little bit of his presentation to some of the questions that we have that we would like to learn more about as a group. And then throughout his presentation, the last column is if you can just add in there while he's presenting things that you're learning. And back to Antonio's question is how can we use that information moving forward to serve others? So with that, I think, I'm not sure who's going to put us into breakout rooms.
It's
if
me.
you have, go ahead.
I will be doing that, Mark. Sorry, I've jumped in too quickly.
Yep. No, that's okay. So, and hopefully if the link isn't working, we'll put it in the chat. And again, this is just one doc we're all going to be writing on. And again, we want to know what you know about culture responsive teaching, maybe your experiences that maybe things you put into practice already, what you'd like to learn more about. And the last part then too is the last box is what connections do you see between culture responsive teaching and character education? So if you can add to that as well, that'd be great. So I think we have 15 minutes, Ronette? I can't remember how much time we dedicated to this, and then we're going to bring it back.
Absolutely. At least 15, I think is a good amount of time. I really want people to be able to have some really meaningful conversations.
And then
so there'll be about 7 or 8 people in each breakout room.
Then the last thing is when we come back, we're going to take some time, just a few minutes for each group to share the highlights from their conversation. So here we go. So as I start off by saying, first of all, great discussion. I hope you all had really good discussions around culture responsive teaching. Anytime I enter that kind of space and do a KWL, I actually learn from other people, which has been great. I just want to share with you our journey, and we're probably maybe 9 months into our journey around culture responsive teaching. What we did, we have an equity committee, and we were trying to find a framework that kind of checked all the boxes, and we were looking at research-based practices, and so we looked at 8 different frameworks, and we ended up doing this coding process, and then at the end of the day, we found this one framework put up by New America that checked all the boxes for us. And as we learn more about the framework, it is research-based. I think it's 20 to 30 years worth of research behind these, they call them competencies. And so we as a committee at our building landed on this. And so what we're gonna be doing, there's the really neat part, and if you click on, there's this, we don't have to do it right now, but this link here, the Culture Responsive Teaching Reflection Guide, is a link to the framework with guiding questions. And we're gonna be using those guiding questions to identify our strengths in our building, centering around culture responsive teaching. But then the second thing is, where are the gaps that we have in our building? What are some of the practices we can be doing better in the classroom with culture responsive teaching? And so that's the work we've done so far. One of the things that I was curious about as I was looking at these, and being a building principal who supervises teachers, we use the Charlotte Danielson model for evaluating teachers as our framework. And if you can go to the next slide. I spent some time in the afternoon, I don't know, about 3 weeks ago, and I was just curious where some of these practices align with the Charlotte Danielson teaching framework. And so across the top, you can see the culture responsive teaching framework on the left with the 8 competencies. Then what I did is I opened up the Charlotte Danielson framework, and it is linked in here if you want to go back and look at this. But as I was reading deeper into these, with Charlotte Danielson, there's 4 components. There's, I think, 22 domains altogether. What I started doing is like, where in the framework do we talk about recognizing and redressing bias in the system? And so as I looked at it, domain 4F, which is under the professionalism one, there is that is being addressed in the framework. And so I did that for each of the competencies, and you'll notice that I think all of them touch all the check all the boxes except for the last one, reflecting on one's cultural lens. I couldn't find that anywhere in the Charlotte Danielson model. So what I like to do is connect our current work, kind of where we've been, where we are, and where we're headed. And so I've shared this out with the staff to say, hey, look, we are doing some good work. This is where it would apply to the Charlotte Danielson teaching framework. So if it came into your classroom, this is where I would see it. Then one of the questions we had on that KWL activity we just did is, where do we see this within the 11 principles framework? And so I linked the principles that I found that connected to the competencies. And then this goes into much greater detail as you read the principles with more specifics. I just didn't have enough space to write that, but you'll notice that principle 6, principle 3, principle 4, and principle 10 align with the 8 competencies for culture responsive teaching framework. We also teach what's called the Connect class around social emotional learning. It's a 7.5-week course that all of our kids take. And so I was curious of where do those competencies align with the culture responsive teaching framework? And those competencies included self-awareness, social awareness, and relationship building. So again, just trying to connect some of the dots of the work that we're currently doing. Where does it tie with character education? Where does it tie with SEL? And where does it tie with teaching in the classroom? And I think, I don't know, Lauren, you had shared with me, Lauren, an article that at the end of the day, I think the article said that, culture responsive teaching is just really good teaching. And I don't know, maybe you can include that article in the chat. I think that would be pretty interesting. But anyway, for what it's worth, coming from somebody who's just starting this process and this journey, I have a long ways to go. I'm looking forward to learning from Dr. Hawley. And so I guess that's what I wanted to share with everybody this morning. Right, who's up next?
Hi there. It's not me. So whoever is holding the documents, I'm over here doing Zoom. So look at our schedule. There we go. I'm not doing any of this part right here, guys, just so you know. Whoever's holding these slides, thank you so much.
So good morning. Sorry, I was trying to flip between slides and our schedule. So I'm going to speak a little bit about the May graduation and what we're hoping and asking of you as far as a presentation for the final day. So we're going to have each organization or school do a 3-minute presentation. And if you did a promising practice, then it would be around what your promising practice is. If you decided not to do a promising practice at this time, then we would have you choose an initiative that you are doing or plan to do on Character Ed and share that initiative in your 3-minute presentation. So you can take some of the key points from the application and like look at how you might frame your presentation. And I would then be open to questions from the rest of the cohort about, what was the need or what challenges did you have when you put this into place, so that we can all learn from each other on the last day with these new practices that have been come about, either something you have been doing or will be doing. So that's what our graduation day will be, a presentation day. Are there any questions on that? I'm going to advance to the next slide. I think Colin did a nice exemplar slide for us. And you can again use PowerPoint, you can use Google Slides, either of those are options.
Yeah, and I can jump in real quick, Julie. First of all, thanks to everyone who worked so hard to submit a promising practices application. As a cohort, it's just amazing what great work is being done through a very exceptional and unique year. So just pulling this example, I think the spirit behind the May 6th sharing is, number one, celebrate the great work that's been accomplished. So take a little pride in either your promising practices application or any new initiative that was developed this year. And really kind of synthesize it down to a slide, or for you overachievers, a slide or two, just to share out for a couple of minutes. Number two, as leaders, that idea of iron sharpening iron, there's such a great opportunity to transfer wonderful ideas just in sharing out what you worked on this year that may resonate with another school or another team. So really kind of boil down, again, the great work that your school or your team engaged with this year, and just kind of put it on one slide that we can take some time, have you share out. Number one, celebrate along with you. Get a chance to ask some follow-up questions, nothing too formal, but really have it be a learning guide and a leadership guide for possible next steps that teams want to add to their practices for next year and the future as well. So we can definitely learn a lot from each other. And again, great work in not only just submitting a promising practice, but the practice itself looking so impactful. So wonderful job. Any questions for you or anything you want to drop in the chat? Again, this is when we gather on May 6th. I'll give my teacher wait time now.
I'm not sure if anyone addressed this, but for those of you who did submit promising practices, which again, we want to celebrate even just submitting the practices. I'm not sure if Julie or Colin, if you spoke to this, but those submissions will be scored. You'll get feedback, we'll put it that way, within the next few weeks, actually. So you'll know before May 6th if you will be receiving a promising practice award from WCEP.
That was not mentioned. Thank you.
Yep, good to know. And just again, the real couple points of your presentation, it's like the who, the what, the why. So be sure you tell us who you are, because even though we've been together all year, we don't maybe know exactly who your organization or school is. So include the who, the what, what the practice is, and of course the why. Why did you choose this? What was the need? So you're kind of addressing the who, the what, the why. But it's just 3 minutes. We want to keep it real. We don't want to make it complicated, and just it's a point of conversation for everyone else in the cohort to engage and again celebrate what you're doing. So that's it in a nutshell. All right, I'm going to jump back to this slide about the Character Ed Conference, June 24th. That is our last, really kind of our last session as a conference. So it is part of the LACCS program. Your fees pay for your conference registration. So go ahead and go to the website. So it's alverno.edu/character-conference. There is a checkbox when you register, and you check that you are a LACCS participant, and then you register for free. So please do register. And this is a great opportunity to hear presentations from people around the state who really are doing some great work in character education. We have two wonderful keynote speakers, Charlotte Lewis, who is the founder of the Jesse Lewis Choose Love movement. She's a great speaker, talks really about building a culture. And then Clifton Tolbert is our second keynote speaker, and he's all about the habits of the heart and how our leadership as mentors can really impact our students and other people around us. So I think you'll enjoy both of those presentations. So please do register, though. We need to be sure that it's, because it's online, you're going to need to register to get the links to the conference. And then the last thing is we're going to take a few minutes here to do a little bit of a reflection on this year. And this is going to help us really in planning for the next cohort and the next year, and how also we can provide support for you as you are a LACCS alum. So we really are looking for your feedback here, because we want to continue to work with your school, with your organization, even after this year's program ends. So we're looking for your feedback so that we can offer and support you in the best way possible. So could someone puts that in the chat, that link? We're going to take a few minutes right now. Do we have about 5 minutes, Renette, on that?
That should be enough time. They are open response spaces, or so you can talk a little more if you need to, and for sure take that Google form link, open it, start working on it, and get it to us. If it takes you longer than 5 minutes, it's okay, because then following that, Julie, if I'm correct, is it their time to work in their groups?
Yes. So once we're done with the evaluation time, you're going to go into your regular breakout groups with your teams, and you're going to have work time to figure out your May presentation and what that's going to look like. And so we're going to give you pretty much the rest of the morning up until 11 o'clock, if I've got that correct. Then we're going to take a lunch break at 11. When we come back at 12 for Dr. Holly, it's actually going to be on a separate Zoom link. So we will share that Zoom link. We're going to hop onto another link that community members will be joining us who registered through WEI. So there'll be some other people for Dr. Holly's afternoon presentation on our Zoom. That's why we have a separate link for that.
So just to reiterate, don't come back to this Zoom link after lunch. You have to have that other Zoom link to get in to see Dr. Holly. And so we will be putting that in the chat, and that would go into the chat probably later, closer to 11. So definitely enjoy your time. If you don't have your full group here, by the way, with you this morning, because people are with kids and you're in buildings, and we do understand that, you are welcome to do whatever you need to do to work on this presentation. But we really wanted to provide you with ample time to speak as a team, and to just think about your journey. Again, fill out that Google form, think about next year. We're really excited about next year, all new programming for next year, by the way. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Also, we will be popping into your rooms. So if you have any feedback for us directly, or you would like to have conversations with us around what is expected on May 6th, please avail yourselves of any of your LACCS coaches. We will be popping into those rooms. We are not going to police you though. Fair enough. If you get done early, you guys go and have a nice long lunch, take some breaths, walk around outside, whatever you need to do to take care of yourselves. And then one more point, during those presentations, we are working to get Marvin Berkowitz, Dr. Marvin Berkowitz, to come back to hear where we landed. So he would be the audience, not just the rest of this cohort, but also Dr. Marvin Berkowitz. We are hoping also to invite Richard Pieper, who is the funder for LACCS, and also Jaffe Tremaine will be in attendance to hear where you've landed. So we're really excited about May 6th. Hope you are too. Be creative. Do whatever you need to do. Don't feel limited. If you want to go crazy, however you want to express yourselves in these presentations, we will be excited to see. And that's it. Jens, needs.
I would like to jump in with the challenge, and I'm so curious, I can't wait to get back to it, but to really, if you finish early, take some time and go back to that KWL and the framework that Mark had shared, because there is so much there. You know, just a quick glance and go through it once, I think really requires some more times. And I think that'll set up the afternoon with Dr. Holly to give it even more depth. So one other option, if you finish early, go back to that KWL and Mark's framework. Just some great stuff on there.
I wanted to say something about that too, Colin. I dropped Mark's framework into the chat, and Mark, I think you're being extremely humble as you're sharing this with us. That framework of aligning culturally responsive practices with the Danielson model, which is a way that a lot of teachers feel evaluated, making it extremely relevant to their professional practice, but also to those character education principles that we're all talking about. I just think it's really great organizationally, and whatever your organization is, whatever the pillars, the way people are evaluated, or the character education things that you do, or whatever it is, trying to align those together is a worthwhile task. So I agree with Colin that going back to that KWL and Mark's 2 slides are in the chat if you're interested in referring to those. Thank you, Mark.
Thanks, Bruce. I appreciate those kind words.
Okay, if there's anything else on anyone's mind. And I'm missing just a couple of people that don't have a number, and offhand, I'm not sure where to place you. So if you could just take a peek at your name and see if you've added a number behind your name. Excellent. I got one. I see one person added. Thank you. Let's see. And if that's it, then I'm going to open out the breakout rooms, and you will be in there technically until 11. I know that some people may not need to be, so have a great talk, and we will be joining you shortly as well.